Renault is rejuvenating the Twingo as a kind of retro-inspired, budget-friendly EV. So Renault revealed it, the new Twingo legend, at the Ampere Division's Capital Markets Day, and it's set to be the 4th generation Renault Twingo, and it borrows its looks from the original Twingo, which I think looked really, really cool. When I see that's a really cool looking car, but I think most people would disagree. Fair enough. And it features a similar two-box design with distinctive semicircular headlights and tail lights, and also the front door handles are upright in the way that they are sitting on the doors, so you can see on the pictures. An interesting design element on the concept is the 3 little black pods on the bonnet. So they're reminiscent of the original air vents on the original Twingo. These now serve as the display for the car's battery status. The Twingos were originally 3-door hatchbacks, which that was fine. They look pretty nice, but this one I think is a bit better. It's a 5-door car, and I think it's just more practical. And the handles are cleverly concealed in the window trim, which is something that I really, really like when cars do that. So the CEO for Renault, his name is Luca Di Meo, announced to investors and the media, as reported by Automotive News in Europe, that the new Twingo's development timeline is set at a brisk 2 years. So in a couple of years, it should be on the road or available for us to buy. This rapid pace aims to keep up with the fact that Chinese manufacturers are swarming to Europe. And he also mentioned that the new Twingo is a strategic response to various challenges, including the rise of affordable EVs, which I'm really chuffed with. I'm pretty happy about it, the fact that EVs are now getting to more ordinary prices. I'm not saying they're ordinary prices yet, but they're getting cheaper, that's for sure. So, Chinese brands are noticeably cheaper, and I think that's kind of part of Renault's aim here, is just to try and level off with them, or maybe even sort of get a little bit ahead in Europe, on the European market. He highlighted the struggle to make city cars profitable, especially as European manufacturers shift focus to larger, more lucrative vehicle segments. So for this reason, I think it's something that we should get behind a little bit. So they're actually aiming to help catalyze the cheaper end of the market, which I think is a really, really good idea at this point. And as any of you that watch my videos often will know, I'm a big fan of small cars, small cheap cars. So there is a bit of a catch to this. I'll get to this in a minute. Just a quick word, folks. Thank you for all of the new subscribers and YouTube members, Patreon members as well. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Any comments on the video, just put them in the comments at the end, and I always read the comments, so I'll get back to you if you have anything to say. So it's priced under 20,000 euros, which I think is brilliant. The Renault 5 is also confirmed. That is going to come. There's going to be an electric Renault 5, which is really, really cool. That starts at 25,000 euro. However, none of these are cheaper than the Dacia Spring, which is also a really, really nice car. If you don't know the Dacia Spring, I've done a video on this. I'll put the video at the end and also in the description. The Dacia Spring is the cheapest, production EV that we can buy in Europe. So the current Twingo EV, priced from 20,250 in France. So this is the current one that you can go buy now, which is very nice. It's just not as cool looking as the new one. That has a 60 kilowatt motor with 180 Newton meters and a 22 kilowatt hour battery, which offers 190 kilometers WLTP range and up to 11 kilowatt AC charging support. The new Twingo's platform is yet to be confirmed, and Di Meo hinted at a software-defined vehicle launch in 2026, aligning with the expected rollout of the new Twingo from Renault's Novo Mesto plant in Slovenia. I hope I said that correctly. So this software-centric approach aims to cut development time, complexity and costs, which is crucial for the Twingo's timely and fairly quick release, I would expect. So while the specific details about the drivetrain are scarce, Renault promises best-in-class efficiency of around 10 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is super impressive. And I suppose you can imagine that the closer you get to an electric push bike, like mine, then the better the efficiency is going to be. Obviously, that's common sense. Regardless of the shape and design, if it's tiny and light, it will be very efficient. So my push bike, interestingly, gets between 17 watt hour and 29 watt hour per kilometer. So if I just ride electric and if I don't pedal, so depending on the hills and speed that I go, I also go to the shops and load it with groceries. And I know I look like a complete pillock on it sometimes, but that's fine because I literally love riding it. And I haven't used my car for a week, at least a week, maybe even up to 2 weeks as it is now. Mio praised the new Twingo as a very intelligent concept and a European equivalent to the Japanese K car, which I can really see that. I can see that. If you've never seen a Renault Twingo in real life, they are really small. They're akin to the Suzuki Alto, I think. I think that's the sort of size we're talking. So he emphasized that Renault's commitment to small cars, citing the impracticality of using 2.5-ton vehicles for single-person city travel, which I see on a daily basis here. Renault's current EV platforms include the AMPR Medium platform used in the Megane E-Tech and the Nissan Ariya, and also the smaller AMPR Small platform slated for the upcoming Renault 4 crossover and Renault 5 hatchback. So I've literally got no idea at all what the Euro NCAP rating will be on this, because the Zoe, I believe, only manages a 1-star rating, which is crazy. So these days, a 5-star rating needs things like lane departure assist, etc., etc. So it's very tech-centric these days to get a really good rating. So what was a 5-star just a few years ago now would only get a 4-star, which I'm definitely not a fan of. And I think we're slowly edging toward a driverless, autonomous future, I'm afraid, which I think is a bit sad. So keeping things small and simple and in a way a bit primitive is definitely my preference. So I personally think if they can squeeze in a 30 kilowatt hour battery, and this is where it gets interesting, and they use proper liquid cooling on the batteries, then I will actually be considering one, which is interesting because I'm not really the biggest fan of Renault. What do you all think to that? I've got no idea if they will actually bring it to Australia, but I have already read people commenting derisively about if it goes to Australia, then it will be, $49,990 Aussie dollars plus on-road costs. And I think people clearly don't believe it will come here for a great price. So the big shame here is that it doesn't appear that it's going to have cooling on the batteries of any sort. So they've done that silly thing that Nissan have done where they at least give nothing a name. They call it passive. So it's passive cooling or passive cooling technology, which is basically just, let's just screw it to the bottom of the car so that when you park above hot floor and the heat radiates up into the battery, at least it's still technically passive cooling. So that's a really big deal, isn't it? So to get 200,000 kilometers out of one of these and still have a reasonably good battery is going to be difficult. I think difficult, very difficult. It's a shame because it would actually do really well in the cities here. And as we know, 80% of Australians live in a city, and I think maybe people here are a bit too unliberated to drive a small car like that here in Australia in the city, because I think they all seem to want bigger cars like Teslas, Model Ys and things like that. The Model 3, though, seems like one of the smaller EVs currently on the roads I see on a daily basis. And that's not like a small car, is it? It's not light, it's not a small car, but it's just relative to a lot of the cars I see on a daily basis, it's smaller. I just can't see people being overly keen on going even smaller than that, especially in a ute-centric country like Australia or America, I suppose. So I suppose if you live in a mild climate, you could at least consider it. It's still reasonably priced. If you live in Scandinavia, maybe the UK, I think you might end up getting a good few miles out of it, or kilometers. But I think even then, I think the lack of proper cooling is really going to put an early end to the car, a premature end. And they say they're trying to save costs on it, but I can't imagine it costing more than $1,000 or $2,000 to or euro, sorry, to fit cooling to it. And I think maybe they underestimate the knowledge that we all have. That, you know, most people that buy an EV, I guess maybe a lot of people would understand that you should have good cooling on your batteries, I suppose. A lot of enthusiasts know this anyway. So basically, if you're anywhere hot, just run away from it. I've mentioned a couple of times, if anybody has any ideas on how it may be possible to add cooling after the fact, retrofitting it, then put it in the comments. But I just don't think you could do a great job, even if it were possible. And I think that there would be hotspots probably where some cells would die before others. So thank you for watching to the end, and please remember to put any comments you have below. Remember to subscribe to. Also, when you press subscribe, press the little arrow next to it and select your notification settings and put them to all, I suppose. And thank you also to the YouTube members and Patreon members for supporting my work. Much appreciated. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.